President Biden reiterated U.S. support of Israel, vowing to continue sending military assistance. The president and members of his administration spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu Tuesday from the Situation Room. CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe has the latest.
This was an act of sheer evil.
President Biden condemned the attacks by Hamas, which he revealed killed at least 14 American citizens, comparing it to the worst rampages of ISIS.
Parents butchered using their bodies to try to protect their children. Women raped, assaulted, paraded as trophies.
He said the U.S. is sending special operators to help Israel coordinate the rescue of more than 100 hostages held by the militant group, including Americans.
We now know that American citizens are among those being held by Hamas.
A carrier strike group, including the USS Gerald Ford, has arrived in the region and could be used as a platform to launch hostage rescue missions. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says there are 20 or more Americans still missing, though it's unclear how many have been abducted by Hamas. He said there are no current plans to send U.S. troops into the conflict.
At this point, that is not something that is under planning.
With the fighting ongoing, the president huddled with his national security team this morning and held his third phone call since the conflict began with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Mr. President Joe, I want to thank you for your continued and unequivocal support.
Offering more military support, including precision-guided munitions for fighter jets. The first shipment of supplies landed this evening. Mr. Biden is also sending Secretary of State Antony Blinken to Israel tomorrow, part of a diplomatic push to contain the crisis from spreading further. A major fear among allies that Iranian-backed Hezbollah could fully join the fight. The president today issued this warning.
Anyone thinking of taking advantage of this situation, I have one word: don't.
Ed O'Keefe joins us now from the White House. Ed, you mentioned in your piece the USS Gerald Ford carrier strike group arrived in the Mediterranean on Tuesday. Help us understand here what that is and its purpose.
The most advanced aircraft carrier in the U.S. naval fleet. It was sent to the region, U.S. officials say, not in response to Hamas, so much as to deter others, Iran, Syria, Hezbollah, other actors or organizations from getting involved, sending an unmistakable signal. If you try to intensify or expand this conflict, the United States stands ready. But what CBS News has learned from current and former U.S. officials is that the aircraft carrier is most likely set to be a staging ground for operations that could potentially help extract hostages from the from the grip of Hamas, essentially. No plans, as we said in our report, but worth reiterating here, no plans as of tonight for any U.S. troops to enter the conflict there on the ground.
No plans for that, but Ed, there's been a lot of talk about this. Are there limits to what the U.S. is going to be able to do to help Israel right now if the House doesn't have a Speaker of the House?
That's a good question. Remember, the House and Senate essentially are out of session this week because of the Columbus Day holiday. The Senate's not back until next week. The president and his national security advisor today said that, yes, the White House is planning to send a robust request for aid not only to Israel, but to Ukraine, of course, because that remains unsolved. And Congress will not be able to move until a new speaker is elected. We'll see whether tomorrow's first round of voting yields anything closer to a new leader for House Republicans. It's unlikely, and it's more likely that that becomes an issue next week once the formal requests are made, or, goodness forbid, if the conflict intensifies in the coming days and the U.S. needs to be drawn into it.
All right, Ed O'Keefe, thank you.